attacker, and we already know those people are very, very hard to catch.
All right, Tom Foreman, thank you so much. Let's bring in the Republican congressman from New York, Peter King. He's the former chairman and current member of the House Homeland Security Committee. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. We now know that these brothers were on the no-fly list here in the United States. What more can you tell us about what the U.S. knew about them? Was there ever an international effort to track these guys?
Jake, I'm not aware if there was one. I've had several briefings, and they're still trying to find out exactly what we knew and when we knew it, how much we exchanged information with the French, how much they exchanged with us, and how much of a profile these three, or certainly these two brothers had.
No group has claimed responsibility yet publicly for the attack. Do you think that suggests the gunman may have acted alone, or what are you hearing from briefings about possible involvement of AQAP, that's Al-Qaeda in Yemen, or ISIS?
Yeah, I think it's too early to say whether or not they acted entirely on their own or they had direction from outside France. But I think, again, my feeling right now is that they were either affiliated with AQAP or they were inspired by them or had past connection with them.
At one point, these brothers were under surveillance. France has some 5,000 suspected jihadis on terror watch lists. They admit, as you heard from our reports earlier, they don't have the manpower to track everyone all the time. I assume we face a similar situation here in the U.S.
We do, but we do take it very seriously. We have the NSA, CIA, FBI, Joint Terrorism Task Force, and in New York, for instance, we have 1,000 police doing nothing but working on counterterrorism. That's their entire job.
Let me actually ask you about that, because you're quoted today telling Newsmax that the attack proves that the NYPD program, the surveillance of mosques that took place, was appropriate and justified. But, Congressman, that surveillance program, as I understand it, as was reported by the Associated Press, it didn't produce a single lead. And beyond that, to some of your critics, it might sound as though you're suggesting the correct response to this attack on freedom, the terrorist attack, is to attack a different freedom, religious freedom. How do you respond?
Well, first of all, the Associated Press and the New York Times were totally disgraceful in the way they attacked the NYPD. What you're talking about is the demographic unit, which was never intended to capture terrorists. What it was intended to do was scope out communities so that if something did occur, you would know where the trouble might be coming from. It was not to stop a plot, but to know when there was rumors of one, or talk of one, where you would know where to go and where not to go. The fact is, we've had a number of terror threats against New York were stopped because of the work of the NYPD, and it's a whole collaborative effort within different units of the NYPD.
The deputy mayor of Paris said today, quote, "We may be facing a new wave of terrorism." He said it's probably not the end, but France is ready to face it and fight it. Do you agree? Is France ready?
I would hope they are. And they have a particular problem because of their colonial history in North Africa, because of the fact of being so close to Muslim countries, and the fact that so many of their citizens have left to go to fight in Syria, and how they can make their way back up across the border right up into France. And they have also, unlike the United States, they have a very angry Muslim population. In our country, we don't have that. But you do have elements in France where the Muslims really feel cut off from general society. So they have an additional problem that we would have.
Explain what you mean, but that the Muslims in Europe or in France are angrier than Muslims in the United States.
Yeah, I was talking about in France, where they have not really been assimilated into society. You have areas like Marseille and other areas of France which are almost referred to as no-go areas. We have nothing like that in the United States. Our Muslim community, except for a very small percentage, very patriotic Americans, part of the American mainstream.
Congressman Peter King, thank you so much. Appreciate your coming on.
Thank you, Jake.
Coming up next, we'll go back live to Paris for the latest on the manhunt for these two alleged terrorists who carried out that brutal attack in Paris. Are police closing in on them? Plus, a former FBI counterterrorism agent will join me to explain the tactical moves being made right now.